As the air gets crisp and the holidays get closer, your wardrobe needs to get warmer. It's time to go back to Quince and get those layers, sweaters, outerwear, and everyday essentials that feel luxurious, look timeless, and make holiday dressing effortless. We've been talking about Quince for a while here. I've told you how much I love their pants for travelers. What is your favorite item that you've got from Quince? Let me know. Is it their $50 cashmere sweaters, their Italian wool coats, or something else? By working directly with ethical top tier factories, Quince skips the middlemen and offers prices 50% less than similar brands. Which Quince pieces have become your go to layers for the holiday season? Quince has something for everyone on your list. What pieces are you loving right now, whether for gifting or for yourself? Step into the holiday season with layers made to feel good, look polished, and last from Quince. Perfect for gifting or keeping for yourself. Go to quince.com/traveler for free shipping on your order and 365-day returns. Now available in Canada too. That's QUINCE.com/traveler to get free shipping and 365-day returns. Quince.com/traveler. And thanks to Quince for sponsoring this episode of Amateur Traveler.
The detective said missing kids usually come home. What happens when they don't?
Based on a true story.
Police looking for John Gacy.
We discovered bodies. By the looks of it, they're younger men.
The things he did to those kids. He's sick.
The system failed these families.
Devil in Disguise, John Wayne Gacy. Streaming now, only on Peacock.
Do you know how many there are?
Up to you to find out.
Amateur Traveler episode 968. Today, Amateur Traveler talks about mountains and cranes and fortresses, a cliffside monastery, butter tea, and prayer flags as we go to the Kingdom of Bhutan. This is Chris Christensen from Amateur Traveler. Let's talk about Bhutan. I'd like to welcome to the show Dorji Dhratyul, who is the former head of tourism for the country of Bhutan, and he has come to talk to us about Bhutan. Dorji, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much, Chris. It's great honor to be on your show.
I'm not sure if it's an honor or not, but I appreciate you thinking so. And Bhutan, so we're talking about a country in the Himalayas. Why should someone go to Bhutan?
This is a very big question, but at the same time, I could also say this is a very small question. Especially now these days, since last couple of years, I think when you're talking about globally, in terms of tourism, we are talking about over tourism, we are talking about mass tourism, the touristy destinations are getting crowded. But as of now, still, Bhutan is none of them. So Bhutan is still a very pristine, quiet, silent place. So therefore, especially people coming from the West, so-called the developed countries, so if they are looking for a place out of their place, where at this point in time, I would imagine things are very busy, very hectic, very, I could even say maybe very noisy also. So if they want to get out of that kind of situation, then I think maybe Bhutan is the place. So that is, if I say more in terms of the natural setting. But more than that, I would also like to say that because as you have just introduced, I've been heading the country's tourism for last almost 5 years. So one of my key point when I'm asked this question, what I used to say is Bhutan is that place or a space where a visitor comes here not just on a journey, but basically they come here as a journey towards inward journey. So as a
Okay.
visitor to Bhutan, basically they are not just here to see the places here, but basically it is an opportunity for themselves, for himself or herself to deep dive into their inner self and then try to connect the inner self and see who they are, what they want, basically redefining their purpose. And why I'm saying this is most of the visitors that have left our country, they say that once they leave our country after staying for a couple of days or maybe a week, they say they go as an awakened soul. They go as a transformed human being. So this is what they're saying. So therefore, both physically in terms of the quietness, in terms of the pristine nature, but at the same time, even emotionally, mentally, spiritually, they get totally transformed. These are the two main reasons why anyone should try to come to Bhutan.
Okay. Before we get into the itinerary that you recommend, one thing that Bhutan decided, and I think it was decided more than 5 years ago, so this you probably inherited, is not to be a backpacker destination like your neighbors in Nepal, for instance, but that you were looking for, I don't know how I want to say this, a more higher end traveler,
High value, low volume.
high value, low volume. Okay.
Yes, yes,
Do you want to comment about that? Because that's still the case in Bhutan, right?
yes. In fact, the early 2 points which I just highlighted, the reason for coming
Mm-hmm.
to Bhutan is mainly because of this policy, the high value, low volume policy.
Got it.
Now, I don't know whether you have heard about this. Our tourism started in 1974. That is the first time when we received our first group of tourists, and think it was arranged by a travel company in US. Actually, there were 14 of them and offered three or four nationality. Most of them were from Americans. So since that day when we started the first tourism, thanks to our visionary leadership of our fourth king, presently we are under the fifth king. Yeah, so it was during his time, and he decided that Bhutan will adopt this high value, low volume tourism. It has so many elements to it, but one element is what you have just referred to, that we are trying to avoid the backpacker. This is one
Mm-hmm.
element. Yes. So because of this policy, the backpackers are in a way filtered
Mm-hmm.
out. And how we do that is again through a very old strategy. Since 1974, we used to implement a tourism levy. Today it is called a
Mm-hmm.
sustainable development fee. Then it used to be called as royalty, but it used to be quite high actually. So almost for 30 years, the sustainable development fee remained at USD $65 per night per person. So it is a daily kind of levy.
Mm-hmm.
But since last 2022, when we reopened after COVID, we have actually increased this to 200. So it
Oh
was a
my.
big,
Okay. I didn't
yeah.
realize that.
So it was a big news globally in the world of tourism. From 65, we have
Mm-hmm.
increased it to 200. So every day you have to pay extra 200, and that goes directly to the government of Bhutan, which of course will be used for the welfare services to the citizens of the country, and also to fund the conservation projects and things like that. So therefore, because of this tourism levy that is so high, the backpackers are automatically filtered out. But the high value, low volume is not just about this filtering of the backpacker. There are so many other elements to this.
But it's one of the reasons why when you say that there's fewer tourists, it's intentional and it's ongoing and it's not going to change anytime soon. It's not like it's undiscovered. It's just an intentional decision to have a more higher end experience in Bhutan. That being said, what itinerary do you want to recommend for us for seeing Bhutan?
So, if you're talking about 1 week itinerary, Bhutan is made up of 20 districts. So, as of now, still tourism is revolving around the five western districts. Yeah, but we are making a deliberate attempt to take visitors to also the other 15 districts. It's happening, but it's happening quite slowly. And one of the reason why it is revolving around this five district is, one biggest reason is because our international airport is located in this part of the country, in the western part. And as of now, we
Got it.
have just
Okay.
one international airport. So therefore, any foreign visitors coming to our country, they have to come through this international airport. And not very long ago, the road connectivity from west into the inter central and the eastern part of country was not so good, but now of course things have improved. Now the road connectivity has improved. Now of course, if a visitor wants to go there, things are much more comfortable. But having said this, still visitors are still around here, because of course now you can, since last couple of years, you can fly, you can take a chopper, or you can take a domestic flight. We have now another domestic airport in the eastern part of the country, so therefore you can fly there. But otherwise, if you
Got it.
drive both ways, then it would take you an extra 5 to 6 days. So therefore, your minimum stay in the country, if you go to the east by entering Bhutan through international airport in west, you would need a minimum of 15 days. So therefore,
Okay.
that makes it quite difficult. If it is just a 7 days itinerary, then I would still recommending the western part, unfortunately, because we are actually encouraging to take our visitors to the other parts of country. So therefore, if it is 7 days, then I would say, of course, you fly in Paro, which is our international airport, but also you can drive in from India, from our southern city of Fenceling, which is about maybe 6 hours drive from the international airport in Paro. These are both in the western part of our country. So you can either drive in
Yep.
from Fenceling or via India, or you can just fly into Paro International Airport. So therefore, for 7 days itinerary, I would say Paro will be definitely one place where you have to spend minimum of 2 nights, because one of the must visit sites in terms of the tourism is a place called a tiger's nest. It is a hike of about, maybe for a normal hike it would take both ways about 6 hours. So therefore you have to leave a day for that. So that is also in the Paro. Yeah. So then of course there are so many other cultural sites in Paro, and that is where our international airport. Then from there I think the next
Well,
destination.
before you say there are many other sites, what are some of the other sites before you take off from Paro?
Yeah. Okay. So then Paro, of course, is also one of the most historical places. Paro used to be the old capital of our country, maybe about
Okay.
50, 60 years ago. So therefore, we have some historical buildings which we call as a zongs, and this is still being used as an administrative center, wherein the governor's office is there, the monastic bodies offices are also there. So another one of kind of a must visit place is that very historical building. It's like a fortress, and then just next to that is a museum. In fact, we have only 2 or 3 museums in the country, so that is one museum is also located in that place.
Is that a museum of Bhutan history and culture?
Yes, that's right. Bhutan history and culture.
Okay.
Yes, and I mean
And this
just
is
to,
the National Museum of Bhutan.
yes, yes, and just to give a quick information, that museum is also supposed to have a egg of a dragon. Whether you want to believe or not, there are some very interesting items there. Then, of course, it is a beautiful valley wherein you have a lot of agricultural areas. So, therefore, you can visit some homestays, farms, and all, which I think must be of interest to visitors, especially coming as a foreign visitor. So, go around the villages.
And how would one arrange that? Now, as I recall, I'm generally doing a guided tour in Bhutan rather than traveling independently. Is that still the case?
That this is still the case. You
Okay.
have to have a guide once you are in the
Okay.
country. Yes.
So I'm going to arrange that probably before I come to the country. I'm going to pick a guide and then say I'm interested in a farm stay.
Yes. While it is not mandatory, besides the guide, normally a visit to Bhutan is organized by a tour company.
Yep.
And the tour
Okay.
company actually arranges the guide. That is how normally it
Sure. Yeah.
happens.
No, that makes
But
sense.
now, after reopening after COVID, we have changed slightly some the system. And now, if a visitor wants, they can come into Bhutan without the tour operator or tour company, but has to get a guide to accompany the visit. Yes.
Okay. Now, you mentioned that it's a beautiful valley. I don't know if anybody else is looking at a map of Bhutan as I am while we do this, but there is pretty much no flat part of Bhutan. So it's all mountains and valleys. So when you were talking about how long it takes to drive from one end of the country to another, it's not because it's a huge country, but it is a very mountainous country. I've also been told that the landing at the international airport in Paro is one of the more adventurous airplane landings that one can do.
No, you're very right. Because to the east, as I said, it would take you almost 14, 15, 16 hours just to drive 2 to 300 kilometers. Yeah, so in terms of distance, it's very short, but the time taken is long, and because of the terrain. You have correctly understood that. Now, Paro is one of our biggest valley where we have the
Yeah.
most kind of a flat areas. That's why we have an airport there. Then the next other big valley in the mountain is a place in the center part of a country called Bumthang. So there also we have a quite a bigger valley, in fact bigger than Paro, and there also we have one domestic airport as of now. So,
Got it.
yes, very few places wherein you have a kind of a flat valley, you're right. But the beauty is that even those places that don't have a flat area, they have their own charm. They will be on a very
Oh, sure.
steep kind of landscape, but it looks good, beautiful, yes.
And then you started to take us out of Paro before I interrupted you. Where did you want to take us to next?
Then, of course, you have to go to Thimphu, which is the capital city of a country. It's less than a 2 hours drive from Paro International Airport. But the most visitors, what they do is, as soon as they arrive in Paro, they just drive to Thimphu and then they stay one night in Thimphu or maybe 2 nights in Thimphu. And then again, Thimphu, they look around. More or less in Thimphu, again, we have mostly the cultural kind of a visit. Thimphu is a valley, but much smaller than Paro, but then it has again a beautiful valley, and then it's surrounded by hills and mountains, and where actually you can do short hikes. If you want, you can even do a day's hike, but you also have a shorter hikes, and you can also do biking, mountain biking. And there are some good biking trails.
And
It,
we should say that people are doing this hiking and biking at altitude.
yes,
So we're starting in the valley floor. I'm seeing at about 7,300 feet or 2,200 meters. So you may want to make sure you're a little acclimated depending on where you're coming from.
true, true. You're right. So your Paro and Thimphu are more or less at that altitude, around 2022 or 23 meters above sea level. Yes, yes, that's right. And then Thimphu, again, we have so many interesting places to visit. One popular place is what we call as a farmers market, but now we have a new name called as a Kajatrom, which was developed during our COVID time when the country was totally closed for tourism. So that was the time when we did some building of some sites for visitors. And also one place that we built up during the COVID time is what I was just referring to as it's supposed to be a farmers market, but now it's called as a Kajatrom, and that is a very popular site for visitors. And there what you get is, of course, you'll see all the vegetables, cereals, and all agriculture products being sold there, and also some handicrafts. And yeah, so basically that's one popular place. And
If you're looking for a way to travel that feels personal, comfortable, and connected, but without the price tags and sterile feeling of hotels or short term rentals, let me introduce you to Kindred. Kindred is a members only home swapping network, and your home with Kindred is your ticket. You earn credits by hosting fellow members and then use those credits to stay in over 220,000 homes in more than 100 cities worldwide. I haven't had a chance to try it yet. We just got this ad come in recently. But like me, you can get 5 nights of travel credit just for signing up. I quickly got on the app and looked for places near where my son lives because they don't have room for us to stay with them, and found a number of places nearby. Some of them are available to book specific days because remember, this is a home exchange, and so that's when those people are going on vacation, and others are open to inquiries. There are pictures of all these places, and all look nice, by the way, and then descriptions of the property as well. Apply now at livekindred.com and use code TRAVELER to join for free. Plus, you'll earn 5 nights of travel credit just for signing up. That's live, KINDRED.com, code TRAVELER. livekindred.com, code TRAVELER. And thanks to Kindred for sponsoring this episode of Amateur Traveler. If you're one of those guys who looks at hair loss as a way to wear cool caps and save on shampoo, then good on you. But a lot of us take it a little more personally than that. It makes us feel like we're getting old and less attractive. If you're trying to figure out what actually works, through Hims, you can get to Clear Solutions expert guidance and online process to take the confusion out of care. Hims offers convenient access to a range of prescription hair loss treatments with ingredients that work. Doctor-trusted, clinically proven ingredients can stop further hair loss and regrow hair in as little as 3 to 6 months. For simple online access to personalized and affordable care for hair loss, ED, weight loss, and more, visit hims.com/travel. That's hims.com/travel for your free online visit. hims.com/travel. Individual results may vary based on studies of topical and oral minoxidil, and finasteride. Featured products include compound drug products which the FDA does not approve or verify for safety, effectiveness, or quality. Prescription required. See website for full details, restrictions, and important safety information. And thanks to HIMS for sponsoring this episode of Amateur Traveler.
Then we have a small zoo actually. Again, a popular place
Oh,
in
okay.
small zoo. Why I'm saying is small is because that zoo is actually for our national animal, and our national animal is a rare and a unique animal, and it is called as takin, and it is as huge as a bison in US. It has a head and face almost looking like a goat, but the body is almost like a bison or an ox. So it is known as a takin. And in that zoo, we have this animal, and also we have some other rescued animals like deer and some other wild animals. So that zoo is also very popular place for visitors. And then, of course, we have one place called Textile Museum, and Bhutan again is very popular, famous for our traditional textiles. So we have a textile museum in this place, Thimphu. And of course, the other by default is just to visit around the city itself. Of course, our cities are not like the cities of yours there. It's not a metropolitan city. It is a very small city. In terms of population, Thimphu has the highest population in terms of the cities, and it is just about 120,000 actually. So that is our highest population. Then you can go and visit some museum known as the Folk Heritage Museum, where you can see traditional historical ways of living. Is an old building where you can see how a Bhutanese used to live maybe about 50, 60 years before. Yeah, and then of course we have this big administrative building similar to what we had in Paro. We have another big building called Zong, Tashiche Zong, and which also houses the royal office of His Majesty, and it also houses the office of the head of the monastic body, and also some other government ministries. But that is open to visitors.
Okay.
And then maybe Thimphu is the only place where you can go and again experience some nightlife. Nightlife in the sense that maybe we have some few karaoke bars, some cafes, from place where you can go and sing and things like that, dance, but not many.
Got it.
Yeah.
And if I go there, am I going to just see tourists or am I going to be meeting some of the people from Bhutan who are up there singing their favorite karaoke numbers?
You must be seeing Bhutanese. In fact, that is the beauty of Bhutan. Here, actually, we will see less of a visitors from outside. So mostly, you will be seeing Bhutanese only. So therefore, as you've said, Bhutan is still a place wherein a visitor will really feel that you are a visitor. That you don't get lost in a crowd of a visitor. Like
In
you
the
go to
crowd,
some,
yeah.
yeah, you go to a Bangkok or you go to some other places, you see all filled with the visitors. But in Bhutan, a visitor will immediately stand out. So that is the beauty. As of now, we still have that charm. A visitor is not just a tourist here. A visitor for Bhutan, still now, they're like our personal guests or a family friends. In fact, when I was in tourism, we were deliberately trying to not to use the word tourist to a visitor, because when you say tourist it becomes a little bit too business like. So whereas our philosophy of high value low volume of tourism is, when you talk about tourism, our policy says our tourism is not really for revenue, is not really for economy, it is more for a value. We consider tourism as a national strategic asset. So it is much more beyond revenue. So therefore, we would like to consider any visitors coming any to a country as our visitors or as a guest. We don't want to really commercialize our tourism. Yeah, so these are some of the unique things that Bhutan can offer to a visitor. So all these policies and will put together and give a really different experience to a visit to our country.
Excellent. Where to next?
Yeah, then the next will be another valley called Punakha. These are all nearby for a reason, because 7 days. So Punakha is again very historical. It is a much lower. Now Paro and Thimphu are at a kind of a similar elevation, around
Hmm.
2,200 to 300, and Punakha will go down to maybe 1,400 meters. So it is a much warmer, lower place. The landscape will be a little bit more different in terms of the vegetations and all. It will have a chair pine trees and little bit of a subtropical, whereas Thimphu and Paro will be more of a temperate. Immediately the visitor will feel that difference in terms of landscape and all. But besides the change in the landscape and the geography and the vegetation, again, Punakha has a very beautiful big river running through the valley, and people also do some rafting and on that
Oh.
boat riding in that river.
Hmm.
So visitors do that, in fact. And also, used to be the capital one time in our history. Then, towards the more recent, Punakha used to be also, those days we used to have two capitals, winter capital and summer capital. So, for the reasons that I
Ha.
said, it's at a much lower place. So, then Punakha used to be our winter capital. But of course, now that is no more there. Now we just have one capital in Thimphu. So, therefore,
Well, and that begs the question of with the different weather that I'm going to experience in different places, what time of year would you say is the best time to go to Bhutan?
yeah, so traditionally we used to have two seasons. One is spring, and the other one is in autumn. So spring here starts from March, April, May. So these are the 3 months.
Hmm.
Then autumn would be September, October, November. So traditionally these are the 6 months where we feel that is a good time for visitors to visit our country. But the reason was those days in the peak winter and the peak summer, because of the state of our development here, the roads connectivity was not good. The roads were not very strong. So in the
Mm,
summer, a lot of rains, then there's a lot of landslides, and then the roads get blocked and people get stranded on the roads in summer. Similarly, in the winter, again, we have snows and the roads over the
sure.
high passes, again, because of the snow, sometimes the roads get blocked. So mainly for the safety and convenience of the visitors, we didn't recommend visitors to come in this summer and the winter. But now situation has changed, improved. The road conditions are improved. Now all our roads are all-weather roads, so therefore
Hmm.
not much of an issue. So since when we restarted our tourism after COVID in 2022, we are saying now Bhutan is a 12 months season visit. You can come any months of the year, so there will be always something to see. But traditionally, yes, spring and autumn are the kind of a recommended months. But I, being a former head of the tourism here, I would really like to recommend all 12 months actually, all 12 months, and you will have something very unique to enjoy.
Okay. Now, even though the roads are better in the summer, I'm still going to get the rain, it sounds like.
Yes. If you're not really like the rains, then of course you have to avoid the summer months. Yes.
Well, I would think it also depends on what I'm going to do. If I want to do a lot of hiking, for
Mhm.
instance, then that might be better to avoid.
Yes, and Bhutan is a great place for trekking and hiking.
Hmm.
In fact, we
Hmm.
have some of the best treks in the world, like, for example, the snowman trek. Did you do the snowman trek?
I haven't been to Bhutan, so I
Oh, I
have
see.
not done any treks in Bhutan.
Okay.
Not
That,
yet, at least.
yes, yes. Then from Punakha, yeah, the Zong and the rafting, and then you have some very interesting monasteries besides that big fortress of the Zong. As you have asked, if it happens to be in the right time, then we have some big festivals, like all the annual festivals, like the one in
Hmm.
Punakha. It normally happens in February, January, and towards February. Yeah, it happens there. It's called a Punakha Chechu Punakha Festival. It's a kind of a religious festival, historical festival. So that could be a big thing for the visitors if the timing is right.
And you say religious festival, we haven't mentioned, but Bhutan is Buddhist. So this would be a Buddhist festival.
Yes, that's right. Yes, a lot of mass
Hmm.
dances and yeah, I mean, yeah.
Okay.
That will be quite a tight itinerary, 7 days. So if you want to keep it relaxed, then that's all. I think Thimphu Paro Punakha would
Okay.
be good enough for 7 days. But if you want to keep just one night each of this place, then you can go a little bit further again towards the center, a place called Phobjikha, which would be about another 4 hours drive from Punakha towards central. And why I'm recommending there is that place is again very beautiful valley, much higher than Thimphu and Paro. And we have a lot of kind of what do you call that? Protected marshland. That place is a roosting ground for black-necked crane. It is a kind of endangered bird, and during the winter season, this comes all the way from China, I think, even further from China. So they come for a winter to Bhutan, and that is one of the popular place for this birds, the black-necked crane. And also we have a festival in November in that place. The name of the festival is in honor of this bird called Black-necked crane festival. And if you happen to be in that from starting from October, November, December, January till February, I think, if you happen to be in Bali, you can actually see those birds. Very big birds, actually, yes. And again, that place have some historical sites there. And the most popular activity in that valley is again hikes and biking.
Okay.
And if a visitor is more interested in spiritualism, then these are the
Hmm.
places actually. You can go and visit some temples, interact with some monks and things like that. So this is a very good place to experience those.
Okay. So you said if we had a week, which was the constraints that I put on you, that this is the itinerary you would lay out. But what you'd really encourage people to do is take more time, take more like 2 weeks, 15 days.
Yes, yes.
What are we missing when we don't go to the eastern part of the country?
One is, of course, the eastern and western. In terms of geography, also is big difference. There, the landscapes are
Hmm.
much more steeper. Western Bhutan is much more flatter. So as you go towards the east from the central, the landscape is totally different. You don't see any kind of a flat land, and because of that, I think we are still finding a big challenge. We are still scouting for a place where we can build a airstrip there. So we have still not been successful in the eastern part of the country. Of course, we have one small one in there, but that is just one there. But we are actually looking for more. We have not been able to find, and mainly because of that. So one is the geography part. The second is again in terms of the culture, the people also is different. We have in Bhutan, we have about four major ethnic groups, and
Okay.
the western and the southern and the central and the eastern. So if you go further to the central and the eastern, you will see again two major ethnic groups. So therefore, we have a different kind of a tradition, culture, and also we have some very unique kind of groups there, indigenous groups. If you go right to the east, we have a place called Merak Saktin, and where even the people, the way they dress themselves is quite different from rest of the Bhutanese. Yeah, so yeah, definitely there will be a big difference. And other thing, what I'm recommending is also for a longer duration is if you have some more time, then coming to Bhutan, of course, if you are not able to hike and trek because of your condition, physical condition, that's different.
Yeah.
But if you can, then it's highly recommended because the place, well, even the normal Bhutan is still you can consider as a rural in comparison with these places in your part of the world. But
Uh huh.
within that also, if you start hiking, then you'll really see, you'll totally get a different kind of experience there. You could still experience the medieval era in these places once you really start hiking and trekking.
If you could solve the problem of an airport or bullet train, or what are like three places in the east you really wish visitors could see?
One is definitely that which I've just shared with you. This the place called Merak Saktin, that
Mm-hmm.
is in the east.
And that's for the cultural differences
Yes,
mostly.
that's for the cultural differences, yeah. And then the other one is a place called Khunsi, is again in the east, and there they have a very rich textile weaving tradition. And even today, visitors actually, those who have a longer duration, they go there and they really like it. So that place called Khunsi, wherein we have that weaving tradition. So that is another place. And then the third would be really far east place called Tashi. Again, that is another place where the black neck crane also comes there. But that place is also
Mm-hmm.
supposed to be endemic to what we call the national butterfly of a country called Bhutan Glory. And I think that was first time discovered there. It's a rare butterfly and it is home to that place called Tashi. And I think there is a trail also in the name of that butterfly. And also the Tashi is famous for the wood turning crafts. So they make a lot of artifacts out of wood, including our utensils for kitchens like plates and cups and special made from the wood. So that's also quite interesting to experience.
Okay.
Yes.
Excellent.
And of course, in these places, the modern luxury hotels are still very few. So therefore, the visitors will have a opportunity to experience the homestays and the farm stays in the rural
Hmm.
areas with the local people, and which I also know that some people are really looking for such experiences.
And what is a homestay going to be like for someone?
Yeah, we are actually trying to promote homestays, not only in the east, even the rest of the country,
Yep.
because Bhutan has a high value, low volume, while we also have a really high the star hotels like 3 star, 4 star, 5 star, because the minimum
Hmm.
star we have our own rating here. So a visitor to Bhutan has to stay in a minimum of 3 star, and they are all being graded by the Department of Tourism. And of course, we also have hotels below that, like 2 star, 1 star, and also much lower than that. But for a visitor, for a tourist, it has to be 3 star and above. And we also have a really high-end hotels like Six Sense and Amans and Umas and all, which charges more than the 2,000 USD per night. So those are also we have, but very few. But what we are also trying to promote is the homestays and the farm stays, so that one is, of course, for an authentic experience for the visitors, and the second is, of course, if you start using them, then our people at the grassroots level, they are going to get a direct benefit from our visitors. Otherwise,
Sure.
if
Yeah.
visitors are staying in only in the hotels and all, so the people at the grassroots levels, I think they are not getting direct benefits from a tourism. So one reason is for that reason we are trying to promote this, and second is of course for again because of tourism policy we also want to promote ecotourism, the community-based tourism. So these are some of the initiatives that we are trying to do.
Sean Bean and Connie Nielsen star in Robin Hood, a timeless legend reimagined, where allegiances are tested and kingdoms hang in the balance. The saga begins with a double episode premiere November 2nd, only on MGM Plus.
Every story you love, every invention that moves you, every idea you wished was yours, all began as nothing. Just a blank page with a blinking cursor, asking a simple question. What do you see? Great ideas start on Mac. Find out more on apple.com/Mac.
And a typical homestay, we have our again regulations. So for a home to qualify to be certified as homestay, there are few criteria. What I remember is one is
Hmm.
the house has to be of traditional design, architectural. So if your house is a
Ah,
modern
okay.
one, if your house is built with cements and bricks and all, then that will not qualify. So the house has to
Hmm.
be of a traditional. It in fact it has to be old, because even today you can build a Bhutanese house in the traditional style, but
Sure.
if that house is a brand new, but even if it qualifies, it has not used cement and things like that, but still since it's a new, you may not qualify. So first is the building architecture and the materials that they have used. The second is the family has to be resident there.
Oh, okay.
It's
Hmm.
not that in that house will be left only for the visitors. No, the
Hmm.
owner of that house has to be living in that place. That has to be that family's house. So therefore, they dedicate few rooms, maybe 1 2 rooms for the visitors, but the family also stays there. So therefore, the visitors eat from the family's kitchen. So we recommend that
Right.
if a visitor choose not to, then it's different. Otherwise, it's highly recommended that even the visitors they eat together with the family. Yeah. So this is the
And
second.
what would a traditional meal be like in Bhutan for the visitor?
Now, of course, because of the availability of the resources and items and food, even imported
Yep.
ones you can get. But otherwise, traditionally, you will be basically served rice-based meals menu,
Hmm.
because rice is still a staple food in our country and even traditionally. So, in fact, in the villages, they would eat 3 meals all rice actually. Morning breakfast also rice, afternoon also rice, evening dinner also rice. So it will be mostly
Hmm.
rice. And of course, to go with the rice, there will be some kind of a curry made of it can be a non-veg curry,
Hmm.
non-veg, veg, meat and vegetables, all kind assorted. But our curry is again quite different from other curries, especially from our neighboring countries. It is not as spicy. Ours is more of a boiled and steamed kind of a curry. Common drinks that we have in our rural areas is our traditional tea, which is actually not sugar, it is a salt and a butter base. So we have a
Okay.
tea leaf boiled there, and then you add butter and then salt, and then you churn it. So that is a very common drink for Bhutanese. Of course, now we have this sweet tea and coffees also. Those are the few criteria for your home to be qualified as a homestay. And the fourth reason is that homestay has to be in the rural areas. So even if you have a very historical old type of a building house in a Thimphu city, if you're in that municipal area, again you'll not qualify as a homestay. So the homestay has to be
Okay.
outside that city area, municipal area. So it has to be in rural areas. And we believe this is one of the most authentic experiences that we can offer to a visitor to visit, even if you don't want to stay, spend a night there, but at least go and visit and have a meal there with the local people. And that is one of our best offers to a visitor.
Excellent. Anything else you want to make sure that people know before they go to Bhutan before we get to some of our wrap up questions?
No, Bhutan is quite a open society because since we are
Hmm.
not so well known globally, people might think that we are a closed society. In fact, Bhutanese are very open minded and very friendly. And in fact, I've actually written a very recently a travelogue actually. This is my travelogue I've written, and it is called as Bhutan Kingdom of Mindfulness. And at the back, I have a quote from one visitor, and she's an American, and I'll read it for you. It says that Bhutan is the soul of the universe. What you get from the people of Bhutan is something you will not get anywhere else in the world. So, according to her, I think she speaks highs of Bhutanese people here. So, what I'm trying to say is, we are very open, and once we hear, maybe that's something that I wanted to share. And so far, I've just talked about the culture, the
Hmm.
landscape, the geography, traditions, and things like that. But I've not talked about people. But if you go by this, and also I have heard from some other visitors that when we ask them, what is your best experience in Bhutan, they say the people. So that's something that I just wanted to share. And other is, if you are coming to Bhutan to have a luxury, if you expect that here or what you used to have in a developed country, then maybe Bhutan is still not a place for you, because Bhutan
Oh.
is a place where actually you come here to experience something you have not experienced so far. So therefore, while we have these luxurious hotels and things like that, of course you can get whatever you want to eat also. But my recommendation is that you leave all those in your place. But when you come to Bhutan, maybe you want to try our food, maybe you want to stay in our homestays, maybe. So that's something that I'm trying to say. Because if you're coming here for a shopping, or if you're coming here for some luxury, then you will get disappointed because you may not be able to offer that. Of course, if you are really a high end, we have a very high end kind of a facilities, resources are out there. But in general, I think
Hmm.
our recommendation is people to come here and experience something that you have not experienced in your life or in your country. And we really have this kind of a unique experience. It's something still very authentic. And also, if you're spiritually minded person, this is a perfect place. Very quiet, still a lot of Bhutan also is full of monasteries and stupas and all. I mean, in fact, you might come across thousands of monasteries and temples scattered all over country, and then you'll see a lot of these what you call as the prayer flags on the mountain tops, on the hilltops, even the
Right. Sure.
valleys. A lot of fluttering and a colorful prayer flags. So it is even visually also is such a beautiful sight to see there, and definitely much more quieter. And one thing I want to share before you want to wrap up, again, while I say this, Bhutan is also known to be a country of contrast. You can see, of course, not so modern New York City and all, but then you can see Bhutan, while we are still rural, but we can also see some modernity. In fact, when you talk about modern versus the traditional here, very recently Bhutan became the first country to now officially accept cryptocurrency for a payments for a visitors. And we are told that we are the first country as of now to officially accept this. And it was in the news very recently. Also, I don't know whether you've heard, Bhutan is such a small country. Our GDP is still very small. We are still a developing country. But despite that, we come as the fourth biggest owner of bitcoins. I don't know whether you've heard this or not. Of course, first US,
No,
maybe
I had not heard of
maybe
that.
second must be China, third must be UK, and Bhutan comes fourth in terms of the Bitcoin ownership. So therefore, we have been mining this Bitcoin cryptocurrency for quite some time, for last 7, 8 years. So when you talk about cryptocurrency, now these are really advanced, futuristic, isn't it? In terms of other development areas, we have not reached that stage. So what I'm saying is Bhutan is a land of contrast. So we have this modernity also having at a very advanced stage like cryptocurrency and things like that. And at the same time, we are still very rural, we are still very historical. And in fact, some of the visitors say that Bhutan is a living museum because you still see some of the things that you see in Europe in 16th century. We see these are still being practiced, and we are living that. So therefore, we call Bhutan also as a living museum. In terms of the environment, such a strong environment policy we have, and because of that, just to share again another fun fact is that Bhutan has the highest unclimbed mountain in the world because of our
Highest unclimbed mountain in the world.
yes.
Okay.
It is at 7,757 meters above sea level. And that's because of our environment policy. We don't allow mountaineering of mountains above
Hmm.
6,000. So you can climb mountains below 6,000 meters. If a mountain is above 6,000 meters, you are not allowed to climb.
Interesting.
And oh, yes, I was almost forgetting. The latest is we are now developing what we call as the world's first of its kind, called the mindfulness city. Is a mindfulness city is being developed in a certain part of country. We have already designated around almost like 2,500 square kilometers of our country, going to be a special administrative region. And that city is going to be first of its kind in the sense that it is going to be a new kind of urban city wherein spiritualism, sustainability, and innovative economic materialism will be put together, and it is going to be one of its kind in the world. Wherein, if anyone is interested to pursue a life wherein it will be a balance in terms of spiritualism, economy, and also sustainability, this place is going to be the place for that. And we're hoping that maybe in at the most in another 10 years that city would be already up, and this city is going to be the hub for this South Asia, ASEAN, and also including China. So as of now, the examples that we get is Singapore is for the Southeast Asia, Dubai is for the Middle East countries, and this city, which you call as Gelifu, is the name of cities. The project is known as Gelifu Mindfulness City, and that's going to be the hub for the South Asia, including these Asian countries, and it's going to be also an economic center. Any other big cities like Hong Kong and Singapore and Dubai, but then with the difference. And while in terms of economy, while in terms of the services, facilities, amenities will be at par with, if not more, it will be at par with this. But the difference will be, it will be all spiritually based. It will be mindful. Whatever you do, it will be governed by the principle of mindfulness, spiritualism, sustainability. So we are basically going to come up with a model for a 21st century living in sustainability and also as a more kind of a holistic.
Excellent. I'm going to wrap you up there with some of our wrap up questions. You're standing in the prettiest spot in Bhutan. Where are you standing and what are you looking at?
Oh, yes. So I would say, of course, I'll be biased in that because I've been a governor of that place for almost 4 years before I became head of the tourism in the country. And that place is called Laya. And a specific site, if I have to name, is a place called Langothang. It is at about, let's say, 4,100 meters above sea level. It is a big, nice plateau there. And that is a place where every year we have what we call as Royal Highland Festival. And that festival was started about 8 or 9 years ago when I was a governor there. And this year we are going to have the 8th edition. And of course, we lost 2 years. Actually, it could have been the 10th edition. We lost 2 years during the COVID times. And I would say that is the prettiest place that I would recommend. But as I said, it could be a biased one.
That's okay. You're entitled to be biased.
Yes.
That's not a problem.
Yes.
Now, my next question is usually one thing that makes you laugh and say only in Bhutan, but by that, one thing that a visitor is going to come to Bhutan and say that is just so different.
This is very interesting question. One time I had a German friend. We studied together in UK and I invited him as my personal guest and he came over. It's almost like 15 years ago. And I took him around. I took him the same place, like Paro, Punakha and Thimphu. And then only on the last day, he dared to ask that question to me because he was also being polite. But he was really finding it funny and at the same time, he confused. And that is because in most places in the country, you will see a symbolic phallus, the male.
Sure.
And our place is, it has a special cultural and historical significance, the phallus. You can see that phallus in terms of made from the wooden phallus. You can see as a painting on the walls of the Bhutanese house, big phallus and different types of phalluses. So you see that everywhere. And this, my friend, he was not sure whether that was really a phallus, but because it's all art, no? And he didn't dare to ask because he thought if he asked, then maybe he thought that was impolite. But of course, it was a phallus. So that is something that makes, I think, as it made my friend to wonder and just keep it for me himself. He didn't know what to do. But then it might happen to other visitors also. So don't be surprised. I think you will see phalluses, and then this is something that connected to our tradition, and also it history says that it is connected with one of our great religious figure who was in Bhutan, maybe in 12th century, and he's popularly known as the divine madman. And normally he also have supposed to have used this phallus symbol to spread his religion and also to do so many things that he wanted to do. Yeah, yes, this is something that I just wanted to share.
That is a very appropriate answer for that question.
Okay.
And if you had to summarize Bhutan in just 3 words, what 3 words would you choose?
Oh yeah, so Bhutan, yeah, I would say is magical and meaningful because people go out as an awakened kind of a person. Magical, meaningful, and maybe 4 was mountains and monasteries.
Okay, I'll
Yeah,
give
you
you
see a
4.
lot of
That's
mountains,
okay.
you see a lot of
All
monasteries.
former heads of tourism get an extra word. You get a bonus there.
Okay, thank you very
Our
much.
guest again has been Dorji Dhratyul, and thank you so much for coming on Amateur Traveler and sharing with us your obvious love for Bhutan.
Thank you very much, Chris, and I'll be happy to have you as my guest here. So please let me know anytime that you plan to visit a country. Yeah.
Oh, thank you very much.
Yes. Yes.
In Walmart's Newville, everyone readied their cart. The early Black Friday deals are about to start. Online and in the app, such great deals to explore. Everything you love from tech, toys, and more. The days to save and the ones to remember are the 14th to the 16th of November. The Who's are all ready, but are you? Walmart Black Friday deals await. Who knew?
Don't miss a special offer on November 19th from Botox Cosmetic Anabotulinum Toxin A, the one and only product of its kind FDA approved for over 20 years. Buy one $50 gift card and get one free while supplies last. Terms and conditions apply. For prescribing information and box warning, visit BotoxCosmetic.com or call 877-351-0300.
Thanks, as always, to the patrons of the show who help support Amateur Traveler financially. This is my day job now, and I appreciate their support. If you're interested in learning more, go to patreon.com/amateurtraveler. New on the Amateur Traveler since the last episode is a blog post about the 30 bucket list destinations in California, according to me. And I've lived here for quite a while. The Pamir Highway and Wakhan Valley, a solo adventure through Tajikistan, not ridden by me, and a Kansas frontier road trip, Santa Fe Trail, and Wild West history. There are quite a few episodes of Amateur Traveler coming up, including the Federated States of Micronesia, the Thames River National Path, a China Yangtze River cruise, Central Vietnam, Northern Taiwan, a Patagonia cruise, Delhi, India, Libya, and Eastern Turkey. So make sure that you are subscribed to get all of those in your podcast player. Remember, if you're interested in coming with me to Uzbekistan and Turkmenistan in May of 2026, then go to amateurtraveler.com/trips to learn more, or just send me an email and I'll send you over the information. And with that, we're going to end this episode of Amateur Traveler. If you have any questions, do send an email to chris2x@gmail.com, or better yet, leave a comment on this episode at amateurtraveler.com. And as always, thanks so much for listening.
Got to see one more cathedral. Got to sit in one